Hey, this is Flux of FluxWithIt.com, and I'm here with Audio Damage, who has a new drum module here. And this is an analog drum module, unlike the Neuron, which was an FM drum module. So why don't you tell us a little bit about where the design came from and kind of what you did with it?
The design came from Chris and myself. We basically have talked about drum synthesis for a long time. It's sort of a personal passion of ours. And it's a pretty standard sort of vintage analog design. It's an oscillator and a noise source through a multi-mode filter. There's 3 envelope generators, 2 for the oscillator, 1 for volume, 1 for pitch bend, and the third is for the volume on the noise source. The filter can also be modulated by 2 of those envelopes or the oscillator itself, so you can get sort of FM effects or LFO effects, that kind of stuff. So it's really for that kind of 80s analog percussion sound. Does excellent kick drums, pretty nice snares as well, and lots of funky analog pings and shit like that. So
can you tell us a little bit about the envelopes on here?
Yeah, the envelope generators have 2 controls. You got a decay time knob, of course, and the decay time is also a CV input, so you can control the decay time with a sequencer or a modulation source. You put an LFO in here and get a varying drum sound from like a short click to a long boom. And then the second knob is a shape for the decay. You can either have a linear ramp or a sharp exponential curve or anything in between those two, so you can bend that decay shape to get the sustain of the drum sound that you need.
And tell us a little bit about the filter design on here.
The filter is a 2-pole, 12 dB per octave multi-mode filter. You have selectable low pass, high pass, and band pass. Resonance control up here. It will self-oscillate if you crank the resonance all the way up. So in a way you can treat this as 2 oscillators. Again, here's the modulation source here. You can use the volume envelope for the filter itself, or the oscillator, or the oscillator's pitch bend envelope. And there's an external input here that goes straight into the filter that bypasses the noise source. So you can use something else in there, like another oscillator, to get, if you want to get sort of a synth voice out of it, or anything else, tuned noise, whatever.
And you could CV all your envelopes. You have CV for basically everything on here?
Yeah, you got CV, of course, for the oscillator, and that's 1 volt per octave pitch tracking, so you can actually use it as a simple bass line or whatever. CV for the filter frequency, of course. CV for the envelope times, not the shape, but just the times. And also CV for the mix between the oscillator and the filter.
Is there a drive circuit? What other kind of modulation is there on there to shape your sound?
One more thing, you've got your choice of sine or triangle wave on the oscillator. The sine wave is actually a little bit dirty because that actually works better for percussion, just to have a little bit of hairiness to it than a completely pure sine wave. And then over here we have a wave folder that the oscillator goes through, and that literally takes the peak of the wave and folds it back on itself. And that gives you a much wider range of timbres than a simple oscillator by itself would. So again, if you're modulating the filter through that, you get that extra shaping capability as well.
And you have extra control of your mod depth on there as well?
Yeah, you have mod depth for the filter frequency right here, mod depth for the pitch bend here, and I guess that's it.
So then we have trigger, accent, choke.
Trigger input, this manual trigger button right here. The accent gooses the volume a little bit, so it's very similar to the accent on a Roland drum machine. You could use the accent output on our sequencer to drive that, make it a little louder when you want it. And the choke halts all the envelope generators when you put a gate into it. So if you're doing like a hi-hat sound with this, you need to choke it off with something else, put a gate in there and choke it.
And how many HP?
That many, I'm not sure, sorry.
And what's the price point on this?
We're not exactly sure yet because we're not into production with it yet. We're thinking it's probably going to be $450.
And when do you think it'll be made available?
Probably a couple months out.
Okay, excellent. All right, we're going to move over, and you guys have a new sequencer as well, right? You got the Sequencer 1, which it's been around for a little bit, but it's new to me. Right. And so we're going to take a look at some of this stuff as well.
Okay.